I didn't disappear. I was becoming. But for years, people have been asking, where'd you go, Mario? Where you been? What happened? Why'd you fall off? For the longest time, I could not answer that. Not because I didn't want to, but because for the longest time, I was still trying to understand myself. I was trying to understand my own story. Felt like my life was happening in a loop. Same cycles, same lessons, same patterns, same heartaches and heartbreaks. Different season, same energy. It was my lost girl era. I lost myself. I lost myself in family. I lost myself in survival. I lost myself in darkness. But the deepest loss, the one that I was the most ashamed of, most ashamed to admit, was losing myself to the persona that I created. I became a slave to the brand, a slave to the image, this version of myself that I thought the world wanted. My gifts were not making room for me. And it's because I wasn't making room for them. I wasn't me, I wasn't free enough to be who I truly am. Wasn't free enough to own my truth, own my story, own my reality. I was just chained to this version of me, this version of myself that kept telling me that my life didn't matter without these emblems of success, these shallow status symbols that the world worships. I was ashamed, I was ashamed of my story. I was ashamed of my trajectory or lack thereof, I was ashamed of not being where I thought I should be. All the parts of me that just were unpolished or unrefined, not put together. I was embarrassed. Just ego, all matters of the ego. And I mistook my value and my worth for all of these superficial things that were never really in alignment with my soul. And so that ego had to die so that I could finally live. What's the true cost of freedom for 2,000 Alex? I was living life as a shadow, always having to be the strong friend, the healer, the gifted one, the overachiever, the girl who always had to prove herself through performance, prove her worth through performance, who was never really allowed to just be, just be human. So I had to choose, keep living life in the shadows or free yourself, break free. I finally realized when I chose to break free, you don't heal and then tell your story. You heal by telling your story. You heal in real time. You heal while the pieces are still coming together, while they're still, rearranging themselves. You heal by telling the truth, your truth, even if your voice shakes. And I think that's what this space and this page is about. It's not about perfection. It's about evolution. It's about honoring your truth. It's about returning to yourself after years of just pretending and performing and surviving. It's about rebuilding your identity from the inside out without losing your soul, or your faith, or your fire. So if you're here, expect truth, expect depth, expect the lessons, the revelations, the mindset shifts, the spiritual downloads, and insights, the identity work, frequency shifts and practices, all of that brought me back to life. All praise always to the Most High. Everything that freed me, everything that set me free, I'm giving that to you. I've wanted to tell my story for so long, for the longest time, and now I finally am. And not because I reached this mountaintop, but because I'm climbing it with the Most High. And I'm doing it with intention. I'm doing it with clarity. I'm doing it with courage. So if you're someone who's ever lost yourself, lost who you are, or just, felt ashamed of your story, or your journey, or just felt trapped in this identity that you created to survive, then welcome. I'm Mari, and this is my evolution. Come evolve with me.